Hello and welcome. My name is Adjua Dadzi. I'm a career strategist, a senior leader in corporate America, and the founder of the renowned Destiny 7-Step Career Success Framework. And in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about communication styles so that you can be the most effective that you can be so that you can create a multiple six-figure career that inspires you and adds meaning and contribution to the world. It's very common for me to get questions from our female viewers around how exactly to get a point across without seeming overly aggressive in the workplace. So today I'm going to talk to you about 3 different ways that you can get your point across without coming off as a big you-know-what. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, it's super important to know that it is not only your right, but also your responsibility to have a voice at the table. You have a perspective, you have something to say, and it's absolutely worth listening to. What I do want to encourage, though, as a part of tip number 1, is to not worry as much around the perception you're trying to avoid and really focus on the intent and the impact that you want to have. So step back before you blurt out whatever just came to mind, or before you start spinning the verbiage around in your head over and over again, trying to determine how it might be misconstrued. Think instead of, what do I want this team to walk away with from whatever it is I'm about to say next? That can help you reframe not only your tone, but the verbiage that you use to make sure that it has the impact that you're trying to exhibit. Okay, so take a step back. Don't worry as much around the perception you're trying to avoid, but really focus on the impact that you are trying to create. Tip number 2 is actually something I completely subscribe to, and it's from Stephen Covey, who's the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit number 5 is one of my non-negotiables, and it is to seek to understand first, then to be understood. Many times in the workplace, we want to get our point across so badly, and we think that we're right, and we think if people don't agree, they may not have understood us. So we are, in many cases, shoving our perspective down a person's throat, but there may be reasons why somebody has not adopted that idea or why there's disagreement with that idea. And it's important for all of us to make sure that we're first taking a step back and trying to understand a different perspective before we try to have people understand ours. When we fail to do that, even though it may not be our intention, we will come across as being overly aggressive, because the person on the receiving end of that message will think that we don't care enough to take the time to understand where they're coming from first. So really take advantage of Mr. Covey's feedback. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And then tip number 3, when it comes to making sure you're getting your point across without coming off as being overly aggressive, is to really be prepared to explain the why behind your statements or your perspective. A lot of times we give a perspective and we think that the reason why we're saying what we're saying is fairly obvious. And to us, it may be, but to the other individuals that we're speaking to, it may not come across as being so obvious. So really be clear around what your perspective is. So certainly state the what, but also state the why, because you may shed some insight on something that other people may not have considered or thought was as important as it may actually be. So make sure you're prepared to explain that why. When we fail to explain the why, again, we tend to come off as being overly aggressive because we're not explaining why this is so important to us, why we're so passionate around what we're saying, why we really are trying to emphasize that something is being adopted. So it comes across as being this person thinks that they're right and doesn't feel a need to explain, versus, oh, I understand their perspective now because of the why, and that gives that person an opportunity to either agree or disagree. So a really important point around the why, because you want to make sure that you're getting buy-in and not just having people align with you because you say it with conviction or because of power of position or any other factor that's not sustainable or credible long term. So those are my 3 tips for you to make sure that you can absolutely get your point across, be effective without coming across in a way that you don't want to, such as being overly aggressive in the workplace. So here's what I would love for you to do. I would love for you to take advantage of one or more of the tips this week at work and then tell us how it went. Come back here to the community here at ajuadotsie.com, and underneath this video, share some insight with your fellow viewers, because you never know how you're going to share something that's going to really have that aha moment for somebody else here in the community. And of course, please spread the word around the wonderful things that we're doing here at the community here at ajuadotsie.com. And make sure you come back, because next week I am dropping another video right in your lap that's going to help you create a multiple 6-figure career that you're inspired by and adds meaning and contribution to the world. So until I see you next week, please go out into the world today and act with conviction, be courageous, and live joyfully every single day. Thanks for checking me out, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.